Is your child ready to start kindergarten? Well, believe it or not, early childhood education begins at birth. And with the right nurturing, your child can have all the tools needed to transition into school. Joining us to talk about early childhood education is Emily Samuels. Emily is with Celebree Learning Centers, and she's their director. Welcome to On Time, Emily. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
You know, this question that we're asking, is your child ready to start kindergarten, is honestly, I think it's something a lot of us as parents, I'm a parent, and you think about this. We just put our young daughter, who's 2.5, in preschool, in a preschool program, but it was trying because we weren't sure if we were ready, if she was ready. How do you make that determination as a parent?
Well, determining whether or not children are ready for kindergarten involves a number of different things. But there are 7 domains of learning that we focus on in line with the Maryland State Department of Education.
Okay.
And I think there's a lot of, fancy language and all this stuff. But
it does seem to be a lot of fancy educational language today, doesn't it? And I don't understand it all.
And it's really rather simple.
Okay.
But we want to focus the most on their social emotional development.
Right.
Language and literacy.
Right.
And then we have a couple other domains that are important to us, but language and literacy and social emotional development is the most important. In addition to that, you have scientific thinking, mathematical thinking, social studies, physical development, all of that.
Right.
But essentially you want your child to be able to socialize, follow directions, get along with others, and be able to recognize some basic letters and numbers, counting, that sort of thing.
Are parents too pushy when it comes to the education of their children in your experience, or are we not pushy enough?
I don't think as a parent you can ever be too pushy because you are your child's advocate. You're your child's first teacher, and if you are the person who is there to stick up for your child. I think it's more that parents do not fully understand what we need to do to prepare them for kindergarten or the expectations. We focus often on concrete things like, oh, my child needs to be writing, or they need to know every letter of the alphabet and this sort of thing. Well, kindergarten is there to teach your children those concrete skills. That is the point of kindergarten. But what we need to teach them before they get there is how to build relationships with other people and follow directions and sit still, the social emotional piece, which is what you're really going to get out of a good pre-K program.
Kind of hard to think about learning the alphabet, how to ask questions, that type of thing as a kindergarten, everything the kindergartners do, if you don't have basic social components down. Now we do, and I'm sure you take into mind some of the developmental disabilities kids come into play with, emotional things. How does that factor into things? And does Celebree help those youngsters as well?
Every child is unique, and we have to teach every child differently. So the idea is that the teachers have the level of education to be able to work with children on a one-on-one basis, and every child's plan is different.
What do your centers do to prepare children for kindergarten as opposed to other places?
Well, any center that is in line with the State Department of Education will follow those 7 areas of learning. We call them the 7 domains of learning. And how you facilitate that information varies from center to center. So we have teachers that are very experienced and have a high level of education, often their master's degree, particularly in pre-kindergarten programs. We focus a lot on the environment that the child is in. 90% of a child's brain development happens before the age of 5, and those social emotional connections are the most important, and that sets the foundation for learning. So what Celebree offers is the whole package in the sense that we want the right person to nurture your child and to develop them socially and emotionally so that when they get to kindergarten, they're ready to go.
Emily, Celebree is a for-profit learning center?
Yes, it is.
And so how do kids find their way to you, and what about those families who say, look, your program looks great for me and my family, I'm not sure we can afford to put our child in there?
That is difficult because I think that every person that comes into Celebree wants to come and be a part of it. They can feel the energy when they come in. And the reality is that not everyone can afford a quality education for their child, which is a sad, sad thing. I think it's 79% of children under the age of 12 in the state of Maryland currently have a working mother and may be in need of child care. So you've got a huge population of people who have a need for that. Celebree, of course, does work with families to be able to get as many children in the program as possible. But you know, Maryland is very focused on early childhood education, and I hope that we would see some, you know, maybe some additional state funding or something like that in the future to help bring more people into the program.
Right.
But there's clearly a value in early childhood education, and we want everyone to experience it.
And how many centers would you say around the state?
We have 20.
20? Mm-hmm. Well, that's quite a few. Have you tracked the progress of children who've started in your center? And I don't know, any benchmarks that you have, Emily, for how they're doing?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have our own system for tracking the children. That is in line, again, with the model for school readiness.
Okay.
But we use portfolios to track the children's progress, and share that with the parents along the way so they can see, you know, how their child is developing.
Do you think, before we wrap up, there's a lot of focus on testing, this test that we have for older kids in the state of Maryland. In your opinion, educationally, professionally, are we focusing too much on testing these days and not enough on some of these other skills that you're talking about, even for older children?
Well, I'm going to get myself in trouble with that one.
Look, you're allowed to say it.
You know, as an early childhood educator and as someone who has a background in the creative arts,
yes.
you know, one of my degrees is in dance and another degree is in psychology. So I'm coming from a, you know, wide variety of experiences. I believe very strongly in teaching creatively and teaching towards the individual. So
there's my answer.
Yes.
Maybe a little too much testing, not enough creativity in there. I think I'm getting something out of it like that.
Yes.
Emily, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it. Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you.
And by the way, if you'd like some information on Celebree Learning Centers, give them a call. Their number is 410-515-8750. You can also go to their website. It's Celebree, that's double E, Celebree.com.